through my heart.
As severe heat affects thousands of young scouts gathered in South Korea, the authorities are scrambling to deploy air-conditioned buses, refrigerator trucks, and water to the campsite to keep them safe. A series of stabbing rampages have shocked the nation. Police are tightening security while the Justice Ministry is pushing for life imprisonment without parole for what it calls acts of terrorism. We take a closer look at its effectiveness. There's a special story tonight about efforts to preserve and share Korean cultural assets by an American couple who have a special bond with South Korea. It's August 4th, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with the intense heat affecting thousands of young scouts gathered in South Korea's Saemangeum area. The authorities are sending cooling buses, freezer trucks, among others, to the campsite to keep them safe. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
As the World Scout Jamboree in Korea is being marred by heat-related illnesses, hygiene issues, and COVID-19 outbreaks, the government has taken action to respond to the situation. On Friday, President Yoon Suk-yeol approved a $5.2 million budget for the response. One of the organizing committees, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, on the same day decided to increase the supply of ice-cold water bottles per person per day to 5, more cooling masks, hats, sunscreen and ice packs to ensure the safety of the participants. The committee will also install and run 130 cooling buses and 10 freezer trucks. The number of cleaning and pest control personnel has increased from 70 to nearly 550. The organizing committee reported that until Friday, almost 1,500 people had visited hospitals, with approximately 800 of them receiving treatment for heat-related illnesses, as well as bug bites and sunburn. Also, since the start of the event on August 1st, there have been 28 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 2 Scout members have left, but there have been no announcements of any group outbreaks yet. In light of these circumstances, the organizing committee temporarily stopped 170 out of 173 outdoor activities where participants would be exposed directly to the scorching heat. Amidst global attention, the committee acknowledged concerns regarding communication, shortcomings in event preparation systems, and the challenging environment. They assure that they are fully aware of these issues and will take full responsibility to ensure the event concludes safely. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Amid the unrelenting heat, the Disaster Response Headquarters in Korea has raised its emergency operation to level 2 for the first time. The heat has caused a dramatic increase in related deaths and illnesses when compared to last year. Our Lee Yoon-hee tells us more.
At least 19 people have been killed so far this summer due to apparent heat-related illnesses, as South Korea continues to swelter under prolonged extreme temperatures. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency announced on Friday that one more death has been added, which is presumed to be heat-related. It also said 122 people visited the emergency rooms on Thursday due to heat-related illnesses. This brings the total number as of Thursday from May 20th to 1,520. It's a nearly 40% increase compared to the same period last year. The death toll is more than 3 times higher. Out of the 19 fatalities, at least 13 of them were those aged 70 and above, accounting for approximately 70%.
The vulnerable populations are mostly elderly individuals with weaker health and more susceptible to heat. Also, those who work outdoors, especially farmers, are vulnerable to such illness because they may underestimate the heat in the morning and end up experiencing heat-related illness while working.
Responding to the extreme heat wave, South Korea's disaster response headquarters raised its emergency operation to level 2 on Thursday for the very first time. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety said the new level was initiated as over 108 regions across the country were expecting the fields-like temperatures to reach over 35 degrees Celsius for the next 3 days. The agency has 3 emergency duty stages to prepare against disaster or crisis, with level 3 being the highest. Authorities urged for caution against the heat as daytime highs on Friday hovered in the mid-30s nationwide, with temperatures rising to as high as 38 degrees Celsius in some areas.
The temperature in Seoul is likely to reach 34 degrees Celsius on Friday, and over the weekend is likely to reach up to 36 degrees.
He added the scorching heat in the country will continue until next week, with temperatures hovering at around 36 degrees Celsius. Ian-hee, Arirang News.
A shocking stabbing spree at a local shopping mall has prompted discussions to step up public safety in Korea. Police will conduct special safety operations while the Justice Ministry is pushing for life without parole for such criminal cases. Kim Do-yeon with the details.
With 2 random knife attacks in broad daylight within just 2 weeks, there are a government-wide effort to restore safety. On Friday, the country's top police officer declared a period of special security activities until the public's concerns are eased, and asked for cooperation from the people in the questioning and searching of suspicious individuals. He also ordered police to not hold back in the use of force to protect residents.
We will not hesitate to employ legitimate police force, including tasers and firearms, when dealing with violent criminals using dangerous weapons. Upholding the safety of the people is the top priority, and we will actively apply provisions for the exoneration of police officers to support law enforcement in the field.
This comes after the presidential office said President Yoon Suk-yeol ordered the police to be fully mobilized and to carry effective and powerful equipment to prevent any attacks on civilians, as he labeled the latest attack in Bundang, Gyeonggi-do province an act of terrorism. The Justice Ministry also announced that it is pushing for life sentences without the possibility of parole for such crimes of violence. With the recent shocking attacks, some in South Korea have been calling for the revival of the death penalty, but the ministry has been careful with regards to this in the discussion. Life without parole is seen by other countries as an alternative to the death penalty, and the ministry says this initiative will be carried out irrelevant to the Constitutional Court's decision on the retention of capital punishment. In the meantime, the latest attack in Bundang on Thursday evening has left 14 people injured, with 2 known to be in a critical condition. The suspect, a 22-year-old man surnamed Che, drove his vehicle into a storefront, hitting pedestrians, and then proceeded to attack more victims with a knife. He was detained by police at the scene. This came just 13 days after another random knife attack in Shillin-dong in western Seoul by a man who killed 1 person and wounded 3 others. Following this incident, a series of threats about committing similar crimes were posted online, with the latest attack in Bundang adding fuel to the fire. Police have arrested a number of suspects who made such threats, and more officers have been deployed to locations mentioned in the threats. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
As South Korea considers adopting life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, discussions are active whether this could help prevent further motiveless crimes targeting unspecified groups of people, and what could be fundamental measures to prevent this kind of crimes. Our Lee Si-hoo spoke with experts in the field to find out.
According to the current law, a prisoner may be released on parole after serving 20 years of a life sentence. And while there is a heavier sentence than life in prison, the death penalty, South Korea has not actually used it since 1997.
There have been no executions even for the most serious criminal offenders, so the social effectiveness of criminal punishment and its deterrence of crime has been weakened. I think the life imprisonment without parole would at least help prevent social hazards.
Life imprisonment without the possibility of parole also could provide relief, especially for the victims who fear the day of release.
Victims fear retaliation from offenders, as the offender's release on parole is expected after 20 years. But there's no possibility of that with life imprisonment without parole that permanently separates the offenders from society.
But as for preventing and responding to these rising cases of motiveless crimes, there needs to be comprehensive efforts from society.
These crimes target unspecified groups of people at unexpected times and locations, so it's difficult to predict their occurrence. For the types of people who commit these types of crimes, there needs to be monitoring, management, treatment, and care.
There also needs to be a comprehensive study and collection of data and statistics on these crimes to further help the police take on a more active role in the prevention of another tragedy. Rather than responding to the crimes, they should move towards active prevention.
There's a lot that needs to be done. More probation, reform of prison and criminal justice, and prioritization of safety by the central and regional governments. But what we can do immediately is proactive police patrol at public facilities and cooperation of the public and private security forces.
Experts say that with the choices between life imprisonment with the possibility of parole and the death penalty abolished in practice, life imprisonment without parole could offer a middle ground. 이시후, Arirang News.
South Korea's minimum wage for next year has been officially set at 9,860 Korean won, or $7.53 per hour. This was decided by the Minimum Wage Commission about 2 weeks ago, and the Ministry of Employment and Labor officially confirmed it on Friday. Unions had raised objections and requested a reevaluation before it was made official, but the government did not take these into account, saying the decision was based on the tough economic times and conditions in the labor market. South Korea's National Security Adviser Cho Tae-yong says the leaders of South Korea, the U.S. and Japan will discuss missile defense cooperation, which includes sharing warning data on North Korean missiles during their trilateral summit in Washington later this month. Speaking to reporters at Incheon International Airport before heading to Saudi Arabia to attend multinational peace talks concerning Ukraine, Cho stressed that the upcoming summit will become a diplomatically important event. He also expressed hopes on the summit playing a crucial role in building peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. On the possibility of the three-way summit becoming a regular gathering, he said they are building a consensus on the issue and added that the final decision will be made after the leaders discuss the matter. Russia's defense ministry says Friday its forces have repelled separate Ukrainian drone attacks on Crimea and a nearby Black Sea naval base in southwest Russia. In a statement, the ministry said the two uncrewed boats targeted the Novorossiysk naval base. The ministry also said it downed 10 drones over Crimea. No casualties or damage have been reported. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Thursday in his nightly video address that Ukraine's military faced difficulties on the front lines in the east and south of the country, but were dominant in their campaign. Over in the U.S., former President Donald Trump has pleaded his innocence in response to the latest indictment against him that alleges he sought to overturn the 2020 election. Lee Seung-jae has details.
Not guilty. That's how former U.S. President Donald Trump responded Thursday when faced with charges of conspiring to overturn his 2020 presidential election defeat. The former president attended the arraignment at a Washington courthouse located just a kilometer away from the U.S. Capitol, where his supporters stormed on January 6, 2021, in a bid to stop Congress from certifying his defeat. Trump faces a total of 4 charges, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S., depriving U.S. citizens of their voting rights, and obstructing an official proceeding. The arraignment comes after a 45-page indictment on Tuesday, where Special Counsel Jack Smith accused the former U.S. leader and his allies of knowingly promoting false claims that the election was rigged while pressuring state and federal officials to alter the results of the 2020 presidential election. After his not guilty plea, Trump expressed his discontent, calling the move a political persecution.
When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him.
The latest indictment marks the 3rd for Trump in just 4 months. He pleaded not guilty to New York State charges that he falsified documents in connection with hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels in April, and also pleaded not guilty to federal charges that he retained classified documents after leaving office in June. However, there could be more charges for the former president, this time in the state of Georgia, as a state prosecutor is investigating his attempts to overturn the election lost there. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Also on the international front, ISIS confirmed on Thursday local time the death of its leader Abu Hussein al-Quraishi. According to Reuters, the announcement was made on the group's Telegram channel and revealed that the leader was killed during a battle in Syria. This is reportedly the group's first official acknowledgement of the leader's death since Turkey's claims of having killed him back in April. ISIS has named Abu Hafs al-Hashimi al-Quraishi as its new leader. Oil prices jumped on Thursday in response to reports that Saudi Arabia may extend its production ceiling through September. Saudi state news agency SPA reported that the country's production for next month will be around 9 million barrels a day. Following this report, West Texas Intermediate rose some 2.5% to $81.55 on Thursday. Saudi Arabia has reduced its output by 1 million barrels a day from 10 million barrels since July. Meanwhile, members of OPEC Plus are scheduled to meet on Friday to assess the global oil market. And it's time for our weekly arts and culture segment. We have our culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin, in the studio. Welcome, Yoo-jin.
Great to be back, Jong-min.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Jong-min, today I have a special story about an American couple who lived in Korea during the 1960s and 70s as members of the Peace Corps, which is an American volunteer organization. And that was when Korea was going through a really tough time recovering from the 3-year-long Korean War. And what makes this couple really special is that they recently donated more than 1,000 pictures, old paintings, and books back to Korea. And I had the wonderful opportunity to sit down and talk with them. Let's first take a look. For Gary and Marianne Mintier, Korea holds a special place in their hearts.
I always say Udinada. We weren't born here, but it's Udinada.
Back in 1969, the Mintiers came to Korea as Peace Corps volunteers and worked as English instructors for 6 years. During that time, they developed a keen interest in old Korean artworks.
When I was in college, I took one art course, and it had a little bit of Asian art. And I liked it then. And then when we came to Korea, we didn't have a lot of money at first, but when I could, I would buy a certain piece of art that I'd seen in a store, and my wife would buy me one for anniversaries and birthdays.
Their collection grew to include a total of 150 books, paintings, and calligraphic works. Among them is a painting by Song Soo-myeon, a renowned painter of the late Joseon dynasty. However, this year, the Mintiers made the decision to donate all their cherished pieces to Korea.
including 8,000 photos they took during their stay, which captured Korea's struggle to heal the scars of war.
We were really fortunate to be in Korea at that time when many Koreans had other priorities, right? And art wasn't necessarily one of them. And so I said it's time to give them back to Korea. I mean, Korea gave us so much while we were here and even afterwards.
The Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation has played a crucial role.
We first learned about the Mintiers collection in 2017 through an instructor at the University of Southern California. Over the years, we built a strong sense of trust through email exchanges, which I think ultimately led to this generous donation.
Marking the occasion, the Mintiers have returned to Korea, their third visit after departing in 1975. The most recent was 2013. They say they're always amazed by the remarkable progress Korea has made. But one thing remains unchanged.
The Korean people are still the same. They still have that warmth, that heart, that giving that they had that made us stay when we came, right?
Yeah, most Peace Corps volunteers came for 2 years. We stayed 6.5 years.
The photographs taken by the Mintiers are currently on display at the Busan Museum, while the artworks will be unveiled at the National Library of Korea in Seoul next April.
Amazing. And I recall this year a 19th century Korean map, 대동여지도 returned home. And I wonder how many cultural heritage items have returned home from overseas and how many are still outside their countries of origin.
Well, so Chongmin, I actually looked into this. So as of early this year, more than 11,000 cultural heritage items of Korea have returned back to their home country from overseas. But still, there are still approximately 230,000 items scattered across 27 countries. That's according to the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation. And that's the reason why this foundation is working to really bring more artifacts back to Korea through cooperating with overseas organizations and also maintaining communication with private owners as they did with the Mintiers.
And Eugene, tell us about in detail, when and where can we see the collection donated by the Mintiers?
So the more than 1,300 photos that the couple took during their stay in Korea, they're actually being showcased at the Busan Museum, which, as you may guess, is located in South Korea's southern port city of Busan. So this exhibition is titled Busan in 1970, a special perspective of everyday life. And this will be open to the public every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. until September 3rd. So you have about a month to go check them out. And also, as for the 150 old Korean books, paintings, after they go through all the organization and sanitization projects, some of them will be made accessible to the public next April, which is Library Day, April 12th here in Korea by the National Library of Korea that's located in capital Seoul.
Great information. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
The persistent heat wave covering much of South Korea will continue to prevail. This weekend will be scorching hot with highs hovering around 35 degrees Celsius. For Gangneung, more sweltering temperatures are expected. Keep in mind that most regions will see tropical nights with overnight lows of over 25 degrees. As for the weather conditions in Buanggung County, where the World Scout Jamboree is taking place, temperatures will be reaching 36 degrees. On and off showers are expected for the daytime. Scattered outbreaks of rainfall will continue for southern regions, including 전라도, 경상도, and Jeju Island. In the meantime, for all coastlines, extremely high ocean swells are expected. Strong breaking waves and powerful rip currents with ocean water sweeping across shorelines are possible. Swells may even periodically spill onto nearby roadways. Tomorrow, Seoul and Gwangju will be starting off at 26 degrees. Daytime highs in Seoul will get up to 35. Daejeon and Gwangju 36. Busan will be reaching 34 degrees. On Sunday, the entire nation will see on and off showers. Extreme heat is forecast to continue until next week. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is News Center for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session coming up.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's mine? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
웰컴. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
I'm Yasmin Dalila Amerswet, the ambassador of the Republic of Rwanda to the Republic of Korea. Since I've been in Korea, I've heard and learned a lot from Arirang TV, and I'm very thankful. Arirang TV has been a very good media diplomacy partner, and I've learned a lot through the content and the programs. Korea has been shining, and I've been having this feeling and this perception thanks to the content and the work of Arirang TV. I look forward to see Arirang TV continue to take the lead in this Korean, in giving the world Korean information about the culture, the IT information, and everything surrounded it, resonating with the world. Arirang.
Stories on site. From Korea to the world, and from the world to Korea. We ask questions every day that could change the world. Taking news a step further, Arirang News. You're watching Arirang News. You're watching Arirang.
K-animation, loved and watched around the world. We want to make more animations to reach more children. Traveling time and space. Developing adventure and curiosity. Infinite creativity and hope. We want our children to grow up to be happy. K-animation, watched by children all around the world. So that joy can be felt when our animation is watched. This is the reason we make animation and share with the world. K-animation, befriending children all over the world.
Hello everyone, it's Friday and you're watching Within the Frame. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. Korea's medical tourism is recovering quickly as the country entered an endemic phase. More than 248,000 foreign nationals visited South Korea last year for medical treatment, up around 70% on year. Though there is still a long way to go for the numbers to go back to pre-pandemic levels, it is showing signs of a quick return. What are the main reasons foreigners are choosing Korea for medical tourism, and what governmental support would help the industry thrive? To discuss this, we invite Dr. Yu Byung-wook, head of international clinic at Suncheonhyang University Hospital. Dr. Yu, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening. And we also have Mr. Hong Seung-wook, Director of Global Healthcare at the Korea Health Industry Development Institute. Director Hong, thank you for your time.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Now, Dr. Yu, first question. Medical tourism to South Korea is seeing a revival now that COVID-19 has entered its endemic phase. Now, before we delve deeper into the details, what exactly is medical tourism and to what level is the market expected to grow?
Well, the medical tourism, people we thought just kind of medical services, but it seems like a manufacturing of a car. It's one of the industry, not only for the pharmaceutical or not only the hospital management, it's kind of a cultural thing. So year 2020, under the pandemic, it was 162 billion amount of the budget. We are expecting around 2031, it can be 441 billion US dollars budget. It can be the size of the medical tourism market will be increased. Recently, they expected every years 10.2% of the market can be extended. So the last 5 years in average was 8.8, but probably the next 10 years it will be more extended.
Right, I see. So huge growth is expected for the medical tourism sector. Now, Dr. Yu, one more question. I heard that Asian countries are considered as leaders in the medical tourism industry. Why is this?
Well, there are three major reasons. First, major population we live in Asia is among the whole population in the earth. The second, unfortunately, many Asian countries, they don't have the infrastructures enough to take care of their peoples, and also these days, all nations are connected in the web. So first is many Asian populations in the more than half of the whole population. Second is under the pandemic, we are more well known about other countries, neighbor countries, especially South Asian countries. They have a more interest Korea, and they know about Korean cultures and Korean infrastructure of the medical service. And the last one is now the medical industry is one of the distinguished the industry area is not only mechanics. So we can say ecologically, also it can be extended wider growing expected. That's why many investigations are expected to, especially for these Asian countries.
Right, I see. So those are the reasons why Asian countries are seeing many more foreign patients for this medical treatment. Now, Director Hong, South Korea in particular makes up more than 40% of the East Asian medical tourism market share. And as if proving the revival, more than 248,000 foreign patients visited South Korea last year, like I said before, which was about a 70% increase on year. Now, could you tell us more about these figures and what did they suggest?
The total number of foreign patients who visit Korea last year is 248,000, which is increased by 71% since previous year, recovering to 50% from 2019, about 500,000. As a result, 3.2 Korea since 2009, about 60,000, when foreign patients began to be attracted. Despite external variables, for example, MERS or the international political conflicts, the number of foreign patients steadily increased to about 500,000 in 2019. But due to COVID-19, it has plunged to about 120,000 in 2020 and is gradually recovering to the level before COVID-19. And more than 300,000 foreign patients are expected to visit Korea this year.
Right, I see. Now, Director Hong, delving a little bit deeper here, I heard that there are many changes from the medical tourism trend before COVID-19, with many foreign patients now visiting South Korea clinics through social media advertisements rather than through agencies. Could you tell us more about what the current medical tourism trend is?
Looking at the current status of foreign patients visiting Korea by nationality, the U.S. accounts for the largest portion, followed by China, Japan, Thailand, and Vietnam. Visitors from the U.S. increased more than 53% from 2021, and China also increased 57% year-on-year, despite restrictions on movement due to COVID-19. Russia in general was at the top of the list every year, but the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war has led to a sharp drop in visits in recent years. Especially Singapore and Japan increased more than 6 times year-on-year, respectively, and the increase in visits by patients from Thailand and the Philippines was high, which indicates a high increase in Southeast Asian countries. Compared to the previous year, the number of foreign patients increased in all medical departments. Integrated internal medicine treatment was 65,000, accounting for 22.3% of all medical subjects, followed by plastic surgery, 15.8%, dermatology, 12.3%, and health checkup, 6.6%. It is true that the medical department of foreign patients still visiting Korea are showing high strength in dermatology and plastic surgery. According to the KD foreign patient satisfaction survey, 66% of respondents visit Korean hospitals based on the recommendation of friends or relatives. It is followed by 45% online media, 41% local hospitals, doctor recommendations, and hospital websites, 29% travel agency, and 10% paper or broadcast media. It seems that foreign patients are choosing medical services personally without going through an agency.
Right, I see. Now, Dr. Yu, now that we have looked at the statistics and talked about this medical tourism trend, I'd like to ask why foreign patients are choosing South Korea as a destination for these trips. Is South Korea's medical treatment system better than other countries?
Well, the choosing the South Korea is the kind of the marketing points. So, for example, we need a sunscreen. That time we choose a brand, or is how much is functioning, or how much it costs. But the buying and choose the sunscreen, but compare the medical services totally different, because take the flights, say goodbye to their friends and family, finally go to the foreign country, cannot be communicated, which means there are many factors should be considered. From the beginning, there are many obstacles in inviting to medical tourism in South Korea, but step by step we have solved it, open for all the infrastructures and the build up confidentiality between country and the patient to the hospital in South Korea. Also, we built up the brands. Like South Korea is kind of mecca of medical tourism. Also, we are open to provide all services you can be expecting. Under the pandemic, we are blockage. That's why we couldn't communicate well. At that moment, the many region for like K-drama, K-pops, many K-art contents are open for all over the world. At the same time, we try to give them the confidentials of brands as like Korean medical tourism.
Right. Now, Dr. Yu, since you have already pointed out, the craze surrounding Korean dramas and K-pop too is reportedly also one of the reasons why foreign patients visit South Korea as well. Since you're a physician who is working in the international clinic, is this really so?
Yes. So the teaching advertisement, because advertisement is very important, but sometimes we go to the directly selling the brands. But like a K-drama, K-art contents, they show to directly or indirectly about the Korean medical environment. Like Nangman Doctors is a kind of title was famed for, it was created in the South Asian peoples. They believe, oh, this is kind of fancy, but not 100% real, but they believe medical services in their infrastructure, comparing them theirs, it looks different. At the same time, we are emphasizing to advanced medical technology and our research in the medical research field. Probably it will keep them to confidential and finally help to choose South Korean medical tourism.
Right, so Korean drama and K-pop are definitely doing their part to attract more foreign patients to come to South Korea for medical tourism. All right, now moving on to economic effect. Now, Director Hong, such medical tourism reportedly has a major waterfall effect in that many patients do what's known as medical shopping after getting treatment from one clinic. How much economic effect are we talking about?
The strength of medical tourism has its potential to extend beyond a single treatment. After treatment, it tends to lead medical shopping. For example, after receiving hair loss treatment, there are many cases of additional inquiries to skin plastic surgery or Oriental medicine hospitals. In the case of severe falling patients, they usually visit general hospitals in Korea. And if other diseases are found during the treatment process, it leads to additional visits to other departments. After treatment, patients and companions have also spent a lot of money on non-medical services through shopping and tour in Korea. In 2019, just before the pandemic, as we know, about 500,000 foreign patients visit Korea, and at that time, the amount they spent on medical tour was about Korean won 3.03 trillion. And the resulting production inducement was about Korean won 5.5 trillion. In 2021, during the pandemic, 145,000 foreign patients visited Korea. The total expenditure of medical tour was about 730 billion Korean won by foreign patients and their companions. This presents 940 billion won of production inducement.
Right. Now, Director Hong, to develop such medical tourism industry, the Culture and Health Ministries have announced their strategies to attract foreign patients in May, aiming to attract 700,000 foreign patients by 2027. Now, could you first give us the details of the strategies they have announced?
The strategies involve, first, improving the entry process for foreign patients. Second, supporting many foreign patients to visit local hospitals as well as those in the metropolitan area. Third, strengthening industrial competitiveness. Last but not least, raising global awareness of Korean medical care. Well, I'd like to mention just a few key points here. When foreign patients visit Korea, visa issue is the most important part. To improve the immigration process, the Ministry of Justice will expand the designation of excellent institutions among medical providers and facilitators that allow patients to obtain visa online without visiting overseas diplomatic missions. Also, if the CAF accredited medical institution, CAF is a Korean accreditation program for hospitals serving foreign patients, certified by the Ministry of Health and Welfare or a tertiary general hospital applied for the relay system. They will be designated as an excellent institution recognized automatically by the Ministry of Justice. In addition, the improvement plan is expanding the scope of caregivers and guardians of foreign patients from spouse and immediate family to siblings, and exempting partners from the obligation to submit financial capacity certification documents. Nevertheless, there are social problems such as illegal stay in Korea, so it is necessary to approach them very carefully. Finally, we are also considering ways to provide follow-up care or consult with Korean medical staff through online medical consultation, even after foreign patients return their home.
Right, I see. Now, Dr. Yu, before I ask about the support the government needs to put in place to further enhance this industry, I'd like to ask you one question. Since you are a physician working in international clinic, what were some of the issues that foreign patients had to go through when coming to South Korea to get the medical treatment?
Well, I'm 100% agree with Director Hong, he comments, but I work in the real world in the International Healthcare Center. Also, at the meantime, I'm to take care of the, inbounding patients from their countries. So issues, yes, first is visa. Why? Because some countries, their infrastructures on medical services not enough. Yes, they want to go to Korea in case, but very difficult to get the visa. It's Korean government, we request to them to financial deposits, for example, like $20,000 for one person, to at least for the just case for get the visa to the business Korea. But you know what? Patients, they cannot come alone. They have to come together with their siblings or the caregivers or the patient or patient families. At least 2 or 3 people are coming. But how to make this visa guarantees not only the patient, to others? This is the kind of big issue. The second, in the communication skill, because Korean medical professional, yes, we do our best, but we're not prepared for other languages. They are asking from the Russian languages, Central Asian languages, and Southeast Asian languages, because it's not their home. Also, we have to prepare for them, not only for medical treatment in real, we have to take care of them emotionally, and the food after recovery, certain like the surgery. So we have to prepare one by one. Fortunately, we are preparing for a long time. Meanwhile, the pandemic, we're preparing as soon. But as Director Hong mentioned it, illegal stay can be worrisome. Is in meantime, when we open and easing and relaxing the visa for the visiting Korea for the medical tourism. So should be the Minister of Health and Minister of Justice should be discussed about how to easy and how to relax in the visa. At the same time, how we can control it when they start to stay until back to their hometown, we should be considered about it.
Right, I agree. I guess the visa and communications issues should be dealt with by the government as well. Now, Dr. Yu, making the industry thrive and attracting many foreign patients is of course important, but what matters is that they get proper treatment they want without any accidents. And so, as a physician, what should doctors be aware of when dealing with international patients?
Actually, there are no difference in the patient from the overseas, patient who are staying in Korea. I don't want to mention about nationalities. Who's staying in Korea, who are Korean speaking or who are not Korean speaking, they already use the Korean medical system. They can do measuring, and they can choose the medical doctors, and they can communicate it, and that they make that's the difference of the idea from the medical professional and the patient. But the problem is we say A, but they say ah, which means, so for example, after this surgical process, it can be happen some complication, but it's inevitable one. But if you're not communicating well, it can be happen the misunderstanding between the medical profession and the patient's families. So make these issues less as possible. Yes, we build up the medical communication groups. We can say medical coordinator. Korea, we are already start in the multicultural countries. We have to be recruiting their medical coordinator from some country like Vietnam, Mongolia, Uzbekistan, and other who need their medical services. So we make them the opportunity as like a bridging between medical profession in Korea and the patient who came from there. So if we are recruiting and educating them with the KOHA and KOICA and other agencies in Korea, probably it help to the more successful invitation program can with this bridging people who already stay in Korea.
Right, I see. Now, Director Home, before we let our experts go, I heard that Korea Health Industry Development Institute is running a program for foreign patients to visit South Korea for the medical service they would like to receive. What are they?
To support foreign patients who have received cosmetic surgery, there is a program in which Korean hospitals refund VAT after treatment. So foreign patients can receive VAT refunds after cosmetic surgery. They can submit a medical service supply confirmation received from hospitals to the refund window within 3 months from the date of receiving the medical service. Refunds can be made at the refund window in the bounded area located in the airport of departure or the city refund window. And if it is difficult to visit the refund window, a post-refund can be made using the collection box or mail in the airport of departure. Refund amount is 10% of the medical expenses eligible for VAT refund after transaction fees are deducted. KIRI also currently operates 2 medical Korea information centers for foreign patients, Seoul Jongak and Incheon International Airport. Medical Korea Information Center provides comprehensive consultation and information related to medical services in Korea. The information is mainly about medical visa, medical disputes, and illegal brokers. The services are provided in 5 languages, which are English, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. If you have any inquiries, please contact Medical Korean Information Center 15777-129, 15777-129. The Korean government thoroughly manages the quality of medical service, which is the most important for foreign patients to use Korean medical service, and strives for comfortable use of Korean medical care through safe, reliable, and excellent healthcare infrastructure. In addition to dermatology and plastic surgery, Korea's medical service is recognized as world-class in the field of severe disease, such as cancer and organ transplantation. And foreign patients are visiting Korea for related medical treatment. In order for more foreign patients to use Korean hospitals safely and comfortably, Korean government and hospitals will continue to make efforts. Please keep an eye on Medical Korea. Thank you.
All right, well, I hope every foreign patient could get satisfying medical treatment they seek to receive in South Korea. All right, unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today's edition. Thank you, Dr. Yu and Director Hong, for your insights and for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's all for Within the Frame tonight. We'll be next Monday with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the weekend, and goodbye.
Wow. What can I say?